Okay, so I want to give everybody here a quick run through of how we're going to create this workflow, which is one that I've been using lately with my clients and with myself, and I think it's really handy, and it's something that I kind of rely on now when I actually reply to my messages. Not so much feeding me how to reply, but just giving me information to make sure that my replies are a bit more kind of timely and a bit more engaging. So I'll show you how to build this from scratch, but this is really what the end goal will be. To get started, we just selected create workflow, which is just, we'll call this a personal workflow, and we'll call this demo workflow, right? Now, for this workflow, the first thing we got to do is set it up with the trigger, and the trigger that we're going to use for this workflow is going to be a webhook. Now, webhooks are fairly common. This is something that you get with most modern applications that are doing any kind of outreach or any kind of marketing. You know, you can get triggers and signals sent to you from these platforms typically. And so how it works is really simple. It's going to give you this screen. It's going to ask you to, this is the actual webhook, this is the test URL, and this is the production URL. You're going to change this method to post. Because that's what we're doing. Respond, authentication, none, and that's it, and we're done. Now, basically what we want to do is copy this when we're ready to go, but make sure you copy the production URL when you're going to put it into whatever application. That's very important, because if you put the test URL, it's going to work for your test, but it's not going to work, obviously, for a product. So the next step after adding our webhook is now we're going to add our set node field. Now, what the set node field is, this is something that developers use a lot, and it makes sense to them, and obviously makes sense to me to a degree. But basically what it does is allows you to manually map certain fields from your data and give them like a standardized name. So that way you can use that standardized name within the workflow, right? So basically what that does is make sure that it's a clean name. So if your table's a little messed up, it's going to give it a simple standardized name that will always be read and always be understood in that webhook. So make sure that everything kind of functions the way it's supposed to in your automation, right? So basically we don't have any sample data yet, but I do have some mock data. So I'm going to throw that into my webhook here. Set mock data. So basically I'm going to get this, and then I'm just going to paste this mock data here. Oops, delete, sorry, this, and that's not the mock data I wanted. There we go. So I just pasted the mock data, and then what we're gonna do is save it. And if everything works according to plan, now when I go to my set fields, I can manually map. So basically what I can do is drag fields into here. The field that I want to drag is the lead ID, right? So this is the unique lead ID we created for this lead, right? So that's basically giving it that's confirming that it is body lead ID. So basically we want to set this as lead ID here, right? So what we can do is change this to just lead ID. That's what I want it to be, right? So now we do that. That's the only thing that we're pulling from there is the lead ID. Now we've set this field as the lead ID, so now we can use that going forward, right? So next step is we're going to add our Excel sheet. So we've already uploaded our data. I created this table in Clay. Don't want to get too into it, but it has a list of small list of companies I want to set to show you all, and then I uploaded that into my Excel table here. So we have all this right here for you to look at. And everything that I need is right here to be able to show you how this workflow works. So next step is we're going to add the Google Sheets. Google Sheets. Now what we want to do for this one is update a row, right? Because we want to send it a signal. We're basically putting this into a workflow that notifies us when somebody's either replied to one of our messages, let's say in an email campaign, or maybe they've connected with us on LinkedIn and they sent us a reply, so we want to reply to them. And we want to make sure that we understand that who's replied and who hasn't replied, right? So basically, I'm going to be able to check and find my, I want to just do this really quickly. I'll pause it. So now that it's found the sheet, it actually manually pulls up all your rows here, right? So this is the column that we want to match on is going to be the unique identifier, right? And this is how we're going to pull in that unique lead identifier. So it's going to be the lead ID again, but we want to look from the actual set fields, right? So this is what we're going to be using. We want to make sure that matches that, right? So this is the unique lead identifier. Now we don't need any of these, but we do want to keep the last column, right? Last column, we want to update this with just whatever it is. So say we update that to receipt, right? So status received. So now basically what that should have done is look up this table, right? And it's going to look up the row and it's going to update that. We're going to test that in a little bit, but we're going to add another step to this as well. right? Okay, so now that we've got that going, we're going to add one more step for the sheets here. Sheets one more time, so we're going to pull up Google Sheets. Now what this row is going to get row, right? Now this row, when it gets a row, it's going to go do basically the same thing. It's going to take the unique identifier here. What we want to do is basically, I'd like to go back to one more, but we're going to use it from the Google Sheets here. So basically, what do we want to do? We want to get the row, right? So basically, we're just going to find this again, sample table, find that again, sample table, right? And we are going to add this filter, fixed unique identifier again, and we will go with unique identifier, right? So now it's going to basically look for it, and it's going to basically find that and pull that entire row, right? So now we have all the details that we wanted. And now what we can do with this is we can basically do whatever we want in terms of sending that information to via email or via Slack notification. So next step is we're going to add our email node. To do that, we're just going to go right here, Gmail. Just to give you a little heads up, I did already authenticate this. Obviously, I'm not going to do that in front of everybody, but basically you have to authenticate with Gmail or with Google, right? So now basically, really simple operation here. It's going to use my Gmail that I've authenticated. Now it's going to send me an email, so I'll send this to Peter at banix.com, right? I'll type message received here, exclamation mark, because we're happy. Right, and then in the message, we can pull this out and we can put in whatever fields that we want from here. Sorry, actually. So basically, I want, let's say, the row number for sure, right? So we want to include the row number. Now, you can make this nice with HTML and all that, but I'm not going to do that right now. Right now, I just want to make sure that I send all the information. We got the unique identifier. Actually, we don't need the unique identifier, but we do want the first name so we can start up a conversation. We want the LinkedIn profile, obviously, so we can click on that. We want to see the company name here, so we'll add that to the end. And then we can give it the, I think we have a positive, we have a few kind of data points that we can send, but basically we want to send you the link to the actual spreadsheet as well, right? So in here, I can pop this out now, and then I can actually put here to your sheet, right? And then we can just go here and copy that URL. Obviously, this is not the cleanest. You can make this all pretty, which is what I normally do for my clients, is try and make this a little cleaner, right? And then now we should be able to test this step. So I'll know in a second whether that's worked, but basically now we have our whole integration. Basically, it's a webhook. Now, how does that work? So now we can grab this webhook, right? If you don't have sampled that, you can basically grab the production URL by just clicking on it. It's copied now, right? And you can go to whatever application you have. So let's say we're running an application like enrich. I'll create a new webhook. Webhook name is message receive, right? And then I just paste the webhook here. And then I'll do on a message received or something like that, right? Whatever the event is, right? And create webhook, and we're good to go. Right? So I just want to show you now quickly the email that we received is here. Now look, it's pretty ugly because I didn't do any HTML formatting, but you got your row, you got your name, and you got the link to the sheet here so you can see everything that you want, right? And then when you click on the sheet, you should see here received. So now it's updated your sheet, you got the message, and now you can reply to your lead in real time, and you can have some actual timely data that we include. So we include stuff like, look for company positive news, look for anything that's relevant. Like say we're reaching out about, server upgrades for Windows Server, right? We're going to look for anything that would imply that maybe it's time to upgrade their legacy servers. And then we're going to feed that information to the rep, and the rep can use that to say, hey, this is why I think it's a good time. So that's a really simple webhook, the webhook workflow that you can build out, and you can pump that into Smartlead, you can pump that into enrich, you can pump that into any tools that you use for your outreach. And I hope you find it useful.